Welcome to Unity of Tucson. Welcome to our spiritual community and our celebration this Sunday morning. Our purpose here at Unity of Tucson is to provide a loving, a safe, and an inclusive space where every single person can explore the principles of the New Thought spiritual philosophy, which is the core philosophy we teach. It's the spiritual philosophy that we teach here. And through the practice of the New Thought spiritual philosophy, I think that we can master spiritual understanding, find personal purpose, and develop a spiritual path. That's what brought me to this venue and to this life that I am now leading, because, I had a different life entirely about 20 years ago. And then I had this moment, I was sitting in a New Thought spiritual community, and I went, oh, I'm supposed to be a minister. Well, that's unexpected. But it works for me, and as long as it keeps working for me, I'm going to keep doing what I do. Now, you may not believe everything you hear today. Well, thank you. I say every week, you may not believe everything you hear today. And that's actually, I think, a good thing, because I believe that skepticism is a path towards greater spiritual growth. So if something butts up against your belief system here today, here's my recommendation. Free of judgment, be willing to look at it. Be willing to look and hear, I've heard some information here that is contrary to the belief system that I currently have. Well, I see that, and here's the belief system that I currently have. Maybe make a determination. What might work better for me? And you get to decide that. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to tell you what to think. And so that is the great power of this philosophy, is that it is a philosophy that is rooted in the fundamental premise of individualized choice. You get to choose how you will proceed and live your life. We do have a vision and a mission here at Unity of Tucson, and I would love for us as a community to first say out loud these words of our vision statement. Let's say this together. We envision a world awakened to its magnificence. And the vision is a manner in which we may choose to see the world, and the mission are steps that we may apply to allow that vision to come into expression. So let's say these words of our mission statement together. Love only, forgive everything, remember who you are. Let's just take in those ideas for a moment. Just take a breath. Allow yourself to relax in this moment of perfection. And just hear these words, perhaps as though you're hearing them for the first time. Love only. Forgive everything. Remember who you are. Just taking this opportunity to consider these words and how they may be active in our lives.
This month we're in the month of integrity, and I was really giving that concept a lot of thought. And what I realized is that to come into integrity is to live from a place of humility and surrender. The Spirit of God is upon us. So I drew from the secular world this time to read a reading from the book Inner Excellence by Jim Murphy. He is a high-performance athletic trainer and CEO, corporation, and his whole premise is to move from achieving goals to coming from deep humility and service. So here's what he says. Humility and confidence are often not linked, but they should be. To be fearless in the same regard, to face your fears, is to be selfless. So there's nothing to fear or anyone. So there's nothing fear or anyone can steal from you. Humility takes self out of the center of your universe and puts love in its place. Love is fearless. This trait of self-concern for love greatly expands your vision. The most powerful person is the one who has nothing to lose and everything to gain, who has no self to defend and a great purpose to pursue. This is humility, and in my words, my friends, this is integrity. So, together, let's affirm that we make a decision and live from integrity with our affirmation. So I'll say it once, And then let's say it together twice. Living in integrity demonstrates that I am infinitely whole. Together, living in integrity demonstrates that I am infinitely whole. Again, living in integrity demonstrates that I am infinitely whole. So with that, let's go into prayer. And in this moment, I just encourage you to allow yourself to truly come into your wholeness. Come home into the core of your being. Come home to the center of love. Feeling yourself filled with awe and wonder and deep humility at the power of God, of Spirit, of universal intelligence, whatever name we give it, at work in your life. We come home to the awareness that the Spirit of God is not only upon us, but in us, through us, all around us, as us. And when we live in this place from a human level of humility, of knowing and remembering who we truly are as the divine expression of all that is, we live in integrity. We live in integrity with our beingness, our words, our decisions, our actions. And we take a stand for what is real, true, authentic. Only God, only Spirit. And as we make a decision to live from this core, from this place of knowing, from this deep place of awe, humility, we bear witness to what's possible for others. And today, as we stand in the integrity of who we really are, we dedicate ourselves to move forward from this place, this knowing, this awareness, knowing that this truly is the way we contribute our highest purpose, our highest awareness, our highest transformation to our world. This, my friends, is how we transform our planet. And for this, we are grateful. And we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.
Are you spiritual but not religious? Are you looking for more meaning in your life? Are you ready to create the life you know you deserve?
We can't wait to meet you.
Unity of Tucson, Sundays at 9:15 a.m.
There's a lot going on in my mind right now. Oh, I want us to start with this. I'm going to offer an affirmation. Just take this affirmation in. Just breathe into this. I am the radiant presence of love, building a life I want to live. You don't have to repeat it. I just want you to take it in. I'm going to say it one more time. I am the radiant presence of love, building a life I want to live. Just take that in. And then consider this question. What does it feel like to build a life that is aligned, purposeful, and true? All right. What does it feel like to build a life that is aligned, purposeful, and true? Because that sounds like the kind of life I want to live. A life that is aligned, purposeful, and true. Aligned with what? Aligned with an understanding that I am that which is. We are, each and every one of us, that which is. And that becomes the great equalizer in this crazy world that we're living in. We're living in a crazy world right now. Well, we are the builders. We get to decide what kind of life we want to live. We get to decide what kind of world we want to live in. And I choose in every single moment to live a life that is aligned, purposeful, and true. That is a life of integrity to me. That is a life of integrity. And I keep, these past several weeks, I keep defining integrity as wholeness. For something to be in integrity, it means that it is infinitely whole. There can be no separation. There can be no pieces or parts. Now, we perceive life in multiplicity. We perceive life in parts. But at the end of the day, we are, each and every one of us, part of that magnificent whole. And I'm going to repeat this. I think I said it last week, or it was the week before. We are required in this thing called life. We are required. Each and every one of us is a requirement for integrity, for wholeness to be expressed. For if we were not required, we would not be here. You are a requirement. Your life is a blessing. That's what it is for me to live a life of integrity, aligned in conscious thought, to align myself in conscious word, to align myself in conscious action, to know that as I am the creator of my life, that I am in charge and I am responsible for the manner in which I choose to show up. Integrity, that humility that Reverend Felicia was offering. Integrity, humility is the basis of knowing that we are the radiant presence of love, building the lives that we want to live. Just take that in, recognize, allow yourself to acknowledge that we are, each and every person we encounter is the presence of love, irrespective of their behavior. And that becomes the challenge sometimes, because sometimes people are not behaving in a way that is in alignment with that understanding. But if we are to approach and allow ourselves to understand the nature of someone's truth, which is love, then I think that right where we are, we become the catalyst for a transformation in that person's behavior. It all wants to happen. Life wants to happen. I see evidence of this every single day all around me. And it's happening right now in a really spectacular way. I don't know if you've noticed. I've seen a lot of people post pictures of the saguaros, and they're blossoming right now, right? Isn't it extraordinary, the blossoming that's happening right now? It's really amazing, isn't it? It's beautiful. But you know what it is? It's a stress response. Did you know that? Life inherently responds to stress by seeking to express more life. So I have observed these beautiful saguaro blossoms, that seems like I feel like I've never seen saguaros blossoming in this way in my life. And I was born and raised here. And there's a part of me that feels a little bit of sadness around seeing the proliferation of those saguaro blossoms, because this extraordinary bloom, more than we've seen in years, is a stress response to drought. Here's the thing to think about, though, in response to that. The saguaro doesn't shrink as a response to stress, it blossoms. And isn't that a lesson for us all? What if our spiritual and emotional response to stress was to blossom rather than collapse? Just as the desert blooms from challenge, we can burst forth in life when adversity is met with spiritual intention. I'm going to say that again. Just as the desert blooms from challenge, each and every one of us, we can burst forth in life when adversity is met with spiritual intention. If you are feeling adversity in any aspect of your life, in any of your interactions, remember to meet that adversity with spiritual intention, and you will blossom. One of the most profound expressions of this that I have come to understand. I was going to say I experienced, but I didn't experience it. I've only experienced it through reading, which I guess is an experience in and of itself. I'm having a moment up here thinking this through. But an example of someone who has met adversity with spiritual intention is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was very much in mind this week for me. If you don't know who Viktor Frankl is, I will explain a little bit. He survived Nazi concentration camps. He survived Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz, but he lost his parents, he lost his brother, he lost his pregnant wife in the camps. But he made a decision. He made a decision to meet adversity with spiritual intention. He chose to find meaning even in suffering. Through this experience, he developed a philosophy, and the philosophy is rooted in this idea: suffering can be transformed by how we choose to meet it. And so he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. And in the book was this message: purpose transcends circumstance. And it asks the question of each and every one of us: what is our purpose? I spent a lot of time in classes, and in fact, we're wrapping up a 30-week study with the students who are on the spiritual practitioner path that I've been offering. And one of the very first questions that we ask, and a question that we keep coming back to throughout the course of study, is, what is your spiritual purpose? Because our spiritual purpose, our purpose, transcends any circumstance. And Viktor Frankl founded the school of psychology focused on meaning. It was called logotherapy. And one of the things that he offered was this idea. He wrote this: everything can be taken but one thing. The last of the human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. We are made free through our capacity to choose our relationship to circumstances in our life. You know, we sell a bit of a story here in New Thought. Many people come to New Thought initially because they're like, hey, they're telling me if I think the right thoughts, then I can change the circumstances of my life. And fundamentally, that is, I think, a true statement. But what ends up happening often is people then try to get into I'm going to think only the right thoughts in order to manipulate my circumstances and control them. Let go of the idea that we have to manipulate anything, living from the point of view of a spiritual consciousness, from love only. Love only. Forgive everything, remembering the truth of our being, remembering who we are. Then our relationship to circumstances changes. And then what happens, because we've had a change of heart, a change of mind, a change in consciousness, the circumstances must transform themselves to that alignment. We literally are radiant beings, alive with divine light. Literally, we are shining forth our light. I get so excited by this stuff. So there's this article that came out this week. It came out on the 13th. There was an article about a study that was done. The article shows up in the Journal of Physical Chemistry Letters. The Journal of Physical Chemistry Letters. Canadian scientists did an experiment, and they observed a phenomenon. And I got so excited by this. What they observed was they had a way of imaging mice and plants, and what they observed was the emanation of what they called ultra-weak photon emissions. You know what photons are? It's light. That the mice were emanating light, the plants were emanating light, and so they're saying, hey, this is probably applicable to all life. That we are all literally emanating these photon emissions. We all glow. And the other thing that they observed, I'm not going to tell you how they observed it because it made me very sad. But when there was a transition, the glow stopped. And so there is something about the manner in which we glow. That glow dissipates when we transition, but it doesn't mean that the glow is gone. Because when we transition into some other state of expression. That is the nature of our infinite life. Now, what they also observed is that the cells that were under stress emit more photons. That the plants glowed brighter where they were wounded. Fascinating to me. So here's the thing about that. Here's a lesson for me in that. Stress doesn't just dim us. We do not have to be dimmed by stress. It actually is calling forth our inner light to experience those stressful situations. Anyone experiencing stressful situations? Just know that it is a call for you to express your light. And we've talked, well, ever since I came into this philosophy and all the readings that I've done from the mystics of the ages over the millennia of human expression, we talk a lot in these spiritual circles about being luminous, energetic beings. And now this scientific study seems to be a seed that is planted to prove that we are literally emitting light. And we usually consider this idea of, oh, shine your light, be a lamp unto the world. We usually think of it as a metaphor, right? But it seems to suggest that it is actually true. We are literally shining our light. When I was a kid, I grew up, there was a record my dad gave to me. I was like a little kid. And he gave me this record, and I don't remember what the source of this record is. I'm not going to try to figure it out now as I look at my dad in the back of the room. But it was a record called Lumiere. And it was a story record with music set to it. And in the story, there's a young boy named X-Ray Ted. And the story takes him on these adventures, and what he discovers through his adventures is that he is a star. And the manner in which they define stars in this story is this. Stars are these: self-luminous celestial bodies. Well, we're proving now that each and every one of us is a self-luminous celestial body. Now, in the story, it says everyone has the ability to become one. You know how we become one? By accepting right here and right now that is who and what we already are. We are self-luminous celestial bodies. We don't have to work so hard to shine our light. We don't have to work so hard anymore to become what we inherently are. If we are radiant by nature, and stress calls forth our brilliance, I think a question comes up for me to ask is this: how do we then shape that brilliance into something lasting? We are not just receivers of life. We are the expressors of life. We are the builders of life, each and every one of us. We get to build the life we want to live. We are the builders. Paraphrasing some of the lyrics of this song, the point of life is to flourish, never to suffer like we're told. Because if we can be the change we want to see in the world, we can build a life we want to live. The point of life is to flourish. Take in that, just take in a breath. The point of life is to flourish. Builders are not passive. Builders are visionaries. Builders envision. Builders work to allow that vision to come into expression. Builders build love into form. That's what each and every one of us is doing. I think that's what draws us to communities like this, to allow ourselves to live the lives that we imagine are possible. You know, my first spiritual community 20 years ago, when I had that moment of going, oh, I'm going to be a minister. The vision statement of that particular community was living life to the fullest. That was the call, to live life to the fullest. And as I have engaged on this path of ministry, as I've engaged in deepening my spiritual practice, as I have engaged in the development of my spiritual capacity, I find that I am living life to the fullest more profoundly now than ever, and it is a life that I want to live. That is building love into form. Because fundamentally, I choose in every single moment to remember love at the core of all expression. It's not always easy. It's not. But it is a commitment that I have made to myself. And I encourage this commitment in each and every one of us. If we are seeking to fundamentally transform this world for the better, that begins with remembering love as the basis upon which everything else is built. So let us come together. Let us choose in each moment to demonstrate ourselves as builders of peace, as builders of compassion, as builders of equity, of builders of joy. Each act of kindness that we engage in is a brick, and each prayer is a beam. Each truth spoken is the mortar. That is how we build the life we want to live. So let's stop waiting for life. Here's, you ready? Let us stop waiting for life to be fair. Let's stop waiting for life to be fixed, because we are the expressors of fairness and a fixed life. Instead of waiting for life to be fair and fixed, let us instead build the life we want to live together, each and every one of us, as light bearers, as bloomers in the desert, as radiant builders of love. Peace and blessings. You are radiant blossoms. And as I say each week, if you are new to our community, one of the things that I offer is a practical way to take the message and put it to use in life. So here's this week's home practice. I invite you to let each of your days this week be guided by these questions. 1, what am I building in my thoughts today? What am I building in my thoughts today? And 2, am I building from fear or in faith? Let those be your guiding questions this week, and see how your life transforms in its unfoldment.